A lot of people ask me, how you know everybody? I don't think I do.
I feel like you know a lot.
And they ask me, how do you do it? I said, well, if you want to be known or if you want to be involved, you want to be included or part of something, what do you have to do? You have to show up.
Yep.
You have to show up.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of The Diligent Leader. I'm Kalie Jakovics, one of your hosts, and with me today I have Holly Basta, another host with us, and we have a very special guest, Marco Avila, who is the Vice President, Civil Engineer, Certified Project Manager at WSP. So, Marco, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to have this conversation and learn from each other.
Yeah, it's exciting because you truly are, and we'll get more into the weeds, but you truly are a leader in the community. So I'm excited for the audience to hear all of the special things that you get to do, or that you do. So I guess if you want to start just telling the audience, our viewers today, a little bit about you, who you are, what you like to do for fun, and where you're located.
I'm a human being.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Well, let me start from my early 17s. Probably we can start with that. Okay. I was born in Quito, Ecuador, and I moved to the States when I was 17 years old. My parents were divorced, so my mom was here with all her family. My dad over there. We had to make a decision on where I was going to go to college. So I ended up coming to the U.S., New Jersey. When I got here, my mom, she told me that she's going to get a second job so she can pay for school. And I was like, you know what, Mom, you're not going to spend a penny on me from now on. So I got a job doing whatever. I started working in construction, working in factories, hated getting dirty, but I had to do it. So I started making, my own money. Didn't speak a word of English. And I put myself through 9 levels of English. And, and then I started taking college courses. So my days were from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. for 8.5 years. So it was hard. I mean, imagine trying to learn the language and at the same time trying to learn the subject, especially in engineering. It was
right. Yeah, you were in the master's program starting out.
Yeah. So it was really hard. It was tough. The language itself was really hard to learn because of the phonetics in English. It's just so different.
It's one of the hardest languages to learn.
Yeah. So one of the things that I always tell people I mentor is 2 words: persistence prevails.
Yeah.
And I was persistent, and I said, I need to be persistent. And I thought the end was so far away that I was never going to finish. But one day, I finished.
You did it, yeah.
And 5 o'clock, I get out of work, and it's like, oh my gosh, I have all this extra time. And that's probably why I felt that extra time had to be filled with something else.
Yep.
And that's what we're probably going to be talking about later on.
Exactly.
And became an engineer. I only worked for 2 companies in my entire 37 years career in engineering.
Why engineering? What kind of drew you to that field?
That kind of fell on my lap because I always wanted to be a doctor. I could not afford to pay for, medical school, but signed up for engineering, originally electrical engineering, and didn't like it. And then I got a job as an entry-level draftsman for a civil engineering company in Livingston, New Jersey.
Okay.
And really liked that, drawing and, great handwriting and all that stuff, So I became a draftsman, and while I was working as a draftsman, I continued going to school. I actually became an engineer 1 right before I graduated from engineering school. So I was already working as an engineer because of the experience. But when I graduated, it was just a piece of paper because I was already working as an engineer. And it was kind of cool to start getting involved on infrastructure projects. Getting involved in designing a highway, designing a bridge, and things
So
like
exciting.
that. It was hard. I mean,
Every time that I sit on in a subway or for Mojo, which I'm the director of business development at Mojo, we do a lot within transportation and tolling. And every time that
Right.
I'm going on a tour, on a highway, or on a bridge, I'm subway especially. I'm like, how do they? I can't even fathom it. It's insane. So
it's like we're like behind the scenes, right? We
Yes,
have to
yeah.
kind of do all the design, safety 1st,
Mhm.
make sure that all these infrastructure is built
Yeah.
for the community, for the population. And it's kind of cool to drive around, especially when I remember when I was driving and my kids were in the car with friends, and we would drive through like 695 and 95, the big interchange, and my kids will say, "Hey, my dad worked on that project."
That's so cute.
So it's kind of cool to be able to see stuff that you're working on and is built,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, and being persistent, it's been 37 years, in engineering. Moved to Maryland in 2005. Got transferred within the company to work on mega projects. My first project was the I-95 Express toll lanes up in White Marsh. We built in 12 lanes with toll lanes and managed lanes. And then I worked on the inner counter connector MD200. And then we moved on to work on the Purple Line. I work on the Harry Nice Bridge over the Potomac on 301.
Wow.
Those are all, major infrastructure projects in our
work on
local area.
That's right.
Yeah.
Work on the expansion of 495 and the American Legion Bridge.
Is there a particular project that you just have loved, that's kind of like your baby that you loved working on?
I think they're all very special.
Mm-hmm.
I spent some time with Maryland Transportation Authority helping with the system preservation projects. But I think I'm very lucky and fortunate that I'm still able to say that I've been working in almost every mega project in Maryland, which is amazing. It's great, and it's so cool to be able to. I mean, it's a big program, right? Program management is something that you really get involved in so many different fields, and not just one thing, and be able to interact with the public, interact with the clients, and with the peers and sub-consultants and engineering companies and all that, which is just amazing. So,
well, we definitely want to get into learning more about some of those projects. But before we do, we want to hear a little bit more about you. When you're not working, what are your passion projects? What do you like to do when you're not working? Building these mega infrastructure projects.
When I'm not working, I'm doing more work.
Volunteering. He's volunteering.
Okay.
Volunteering. So I love giving back. I love getting involved in volunteering work, humanitarian jobs, the community, support. For example, I'm a past president of the Engineering Society of Baltimore at the Engineers Club, and I'm the chair of Engineers Week. So we put together Engineers Week every year, and we invite middle and high school kids to learn about engineering, STEM, energy, manufacturing, aviation, cybersecurity, you name it. This coming February, we're going to be hosting 1,500 students. So that's the kind of passion that we have, to be able to start getting the younger generation ready and show them what's available. Because a lot of them, I wish I had this when I was in middle school and high school. Because some of them don't have a clue what they're going to do. But if we show them, my goal with this program is to show them the wow factor, show them the final product so they can get excited, says, oh, I want to do that. I want to get into cybersecurity, or I want to get into energy or manufacturing or aviation. And that way they have something in their mind says that's what I want to do. So we've been doing that.
That's such a great example too, I think, of diligent leadership and the whole concept of sort of providing not just leadership, but also mentoring as well,
absolutely.
to future generations, and sort of just like what you said, thinking about the things that they'll need as they pursue these careers,
Right.
maybe in engineering or transportation or infrastructure, construction. So it really takes a leader who knows what they're going to need. And I think that's a really fabulous example of leadership.
Yeah.
And I'm a believer that everything that we do in our lives, whether it's private, your personal life, your professional life, your humanitarian life, your volunteering, is all connected. For example, with this Engineers Week, and this wasn't planned really because it fell into it. I'm on the Governor's Workforce Development Board. So this stuff that we do with Engineers Week kind of feeds the workforce, for our state, which is kind of cool. And then, doing other volunteer work. I'm involved with doing medical missions all over the world with our foundation, the Healing Hands Foundation. I'm one of the co-founders and the CEO, and we basically go to different parts of the world to do free surgeries for kids with birth defects, like cleft lips and palate, hernias, burns, dental work. We added GYN and all that stuff. And I've been doing that for 29 years. So that's like a passion.
Yeah.
It
takes a very special person such as yourself to be able to, you're on so many different boards and you're doing the Healing Hands as well. And I know just from previous conversations that, you organize it, pretty much all of it. And then you go there and you run it. And it's a huge thing to do.
I'm a hands-on person. Just imagine changing a kid's life overnight with a simple 2-hour cleft lip surgery,
Yeah, something that they don't have access to in that country as well.
Right. Yeah, we went to El Salvador in April for the first time ever, and we were able to do 72 surgeries in 4.5 days. So now we're getting ready to go to Guatemala in November.
Wow.
And then Ecuador in April.
So is it 2 or 3 trips?
So now it seems like it's going to be 3. Wow. Yeah, and it's all 100% volunteers. The Healing Hands Foundation is a nonprofit organization that is 100% volunteers. Nobody gets paid. All the volunteers take their vacation time. They pay their own airfare to get there. And we've been fortunate that we have a big network nationally of all these medical volunteers waiting for our invitation. So there's a waiting list and all that, so which is great. And that's like a passion of ours. And every time we invite volunteers to do this, they get hooked. They love it so much that they want to come back. So 75% of our volunteers are reoccurring, and 25% are new. We have to bring new volunteers to show them and give them that experience, right?
And how does one go about volunteering or getting involved?
Typically, we have an application process, and typically it's word of mouth. We don't advertise. We don't search for volunteers. It's just our own volunteers. I said, hey, my coworker would love to come. So they will apply. We will look, go through the application process, and then we put them on the list for future missions.
I can understand why they would want to volunteer, just being a part of something that's touching the lives of 72 families. So it's not just 72 people, it's 72 families.
Right, exactly.
So that's a lot of people. And to be able to touch that many people during a 4-day trip is pretty significant. I want to be a part of that organization. I don't have any medical training.
Well,
but it sounds great.
90% of our volunteers are medical, 10% non-medical.
Cool.
Including
so
me. Including me. So we usually have the non-medical could be volunteers can help with logistics, coordination, photography, videography, translators, things like that. For the April trip, we had a TV crew that came with us. So they were shooting video everywhere. They put it together right now.
A documentary.
They're going to do a documentary and all that. And we're gonna invite them back to finish or get more footage for Guatemala. So yeah, so we try to invite key people that can really contribute to our medical missions,
Yeah.
And a couple of them sometimes we kind of started this. This is something new that if you really donate a big chunk of money towards the expenses for the mission, we'll take you with us.
Oh, nice.
So they come and they experience what we do, and that's powerful.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. All right. Are there any? I know there's more. I mean, the Maryland Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Do you want to touch on that?
Absolutely.
Then I want to get into leadership a little bit. But as the audience can see that all of the amazing things that you're doing, I want them to hear about the chamber as well.
So in 2019, I joined the Maryland Hispanic Chamber through the Healing Hands Foundation.
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
Yeah, and that was since we started concentrating on doing medical missions in Latin America, I said, hey, I want to tap into the Hispanic market to try to get donations to fund medical missions. So I joined the Maryland Hispanic Chamber. Immediately was invited to be on the board. And then because I like to always chime in, I was immediately asked to be the chairman, president, and CEO.
Love it.
Not knowing about chambers, but knowing about serving on boards. I took over the chamber in 2019. I guess a lot of people did not know that the Hispanic Chamber existed. So we've been working really hard. 2019 was a tough year, and then the 2 years after that was even worse because of the pandemic. But it was kind of declining on membership. But we were able to grow membership from 89 members to today 1,100.
Wow. And that's I mean, I know it's a team effort, but I wasn't aware of the chamber until we met a couple years ago either. So you've done a phenomenal job getting out there and representing them, and obviously getting new members.
Yeah.
As well.
So we grew organically to like 425, and then we noticed there's a lot of Hispanic organizations in Maryland, and smaller chambers like the Salvadorian Chamber, the Guatemalan Chamber, and all these little entities. And so we met, and I said, look, we're trying to do the same thing. Why don't we join forces, and why don't we bring you in as I created an associate membership category so they don't pay dues. So that kind of doubled the membership overnight.
Perfect.
So
okay.
Also you have to keep in mind this chamber is 100% volunteers.
Wow.
So 4 years later, we're doing great. I remember telling the board in the beginning, I said, look, I hate being a salesman. I hate going to, hey, can you become a member? Can you become a member?
Right.
So we proposed, and we said, it's like, why don't we create programs that people can see what we do, and they can say, oh, you guys are doing cool stuff. I want to be part of it. I want to be a member. I want to sponsor. And not to mention the connections, the mentoring, the education, and the advocacy that we do for the small businesses and the Hispanic businesses. So we reach a point now that we can only do so much as volunteers. Right. So now the next step is to hire a full staff, and for that you need money.
Yeah.
So we can have a plan to start raising money. We also created our 501c3 nonprofit foundation so we can get into grants. So the plan is to raise a lot of money.
All right. Do we have the goal?
Yeah, we do have a goal, and
we'll
I can share it.
For donations.
I can share it. So we want to raise money, obviously, to pay salaries and elevate these to the next level. And the next level, which is a crazy goal, because I like to set crazy goals. So in the next 3 years, I want to grow membership to 5,000.
Wow.
And for that, we need, well, this is another crazy goal. I want to raise $10 million.
Hey, you gotta have a crazy goal sometimes.
Yeah, and we're gonna target obviously big companies that really want to invest on what we do, and also it has to be a two-way road, right? To make sure that these companies get their money's worth. If they have like DEI or small business goals that they need to meet, especially through the Hispanic American businesses, we will be there and we'll have the resources to be able to achieve those goals. But and we're gonna set up a perpetual deal, for one lump sum. They don't have to pay anymore forever, and they will have all the support that they need through our new staff.
Yes.
So yeah, that's and then with the chamber, the sky is the limit. We're not only doing stuff in Maryland. I have plans to bring Latin America into Maryland and Maryland into Latin America. So we're working on a couple of things to enhance our import-export business using the Port of Baltimore. So we're going to do a couple of tours in Latin America and try to create, the plan is to create a new shipping route that all these products that are already coming to the U.S., they can be routed through the Port of Baltimore and then stimulate our economy here, right?
Yeah, I feel like everything that you're doing is like kind of what you're
connected.
It's like interconnected,
That's right.
Which is amazing. And it seems also too like, that you've been hardworking, you've been a diligent leader, that it's been instilled in you since, you were young, since you came to this country, you were 17 years old, and it's kind of like you can't stop.
It's nonstop, yeah.
I think that's a great quality of a leader, but I'm curious to know, I guess, like what qualities do you have as a leader? What would you say would make a great leader?
I think a great leader, in my opinion, is learn to work with others. Surround yourself with smarter people than you. And surround yourself with influential people that can set up in a way that we can help each other.
Right. And help each other grow too.
Yeah.
What you're saying, if you want to be the smartest person in the room, then we can't grow, right?
Right.
Well, and I like it that you brought together several groups that seemed like they were sort of, just separated by what country they came from. And so the fact that you were able to bring them together and how you're trying to also bring more Latin culture to the area is, it's uniting people.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's another quality of leadership. So you're from a logistical perspective, you're anticipating what does the community need? How can we build better relationships? So again, I think there's so many different qualities of leadership that we could talk about with you. And thank you for sharing all of this because that's very exciting. So, but I am curious, like what kind of products, would you anticipate that Latin America could bring through the Port of Baltimore, through the plan that you described?
It's like a very extensive, number of products. I mean, for example, just Ecuador, they are the biggest exporter of shrimp, banana, cocoa beans, coffee, roses. The best roses come from Ecuador.
Really?
Quinoa. I mean, it's just a one little section on that, and then other Latin American countries are also exporting all their products to the U.S. And it's not only on the import-export side. We're also going to be working on the technology side. And we have a lot to offer on the technology side in Maryland, starting with like cybersecurity and tech. I mean, the tech world is huge in our state. But everything is connected, like I said, I mean, I also, everything that I do, always go back into engineering, right? And then it's like, oh, wait a minute. I just met these guys that I'm doing, collaborating with the energy sector. And now we have an energy division with WSP. So So there's always, something there.
There's
that, like,
some
wait a minute.
connection.
There's always a connection in some way on everything that we do. I mean, like this week, we're gonna be having an energy event to talk about hydrogen projects.
Okay.
So it's like kind of cool stuff that is coming. You have to also have to project, right, and see what's coming and plan on that.
Right.
Plan on or position yourself to be involved, to be part of it. A lot of people ask me, how you know everybody? I don't think I do.
I feel like you know a lot.
but and they ask me, how do you do it? I said, well, if you want to be known or if you want to be involved, you want to be included or part of something, what do you have to do? You have to show up.
Yep.
You have to show up. 100%. You want people, when you walk in the room, to say, hey, Kelly's here. As opposed to, who's that, right? So you have to show up. You have to be there all the time, and and be involved.
How do you manage it all? So you have tons of organizations. You have your full-time job as well, and then of course family and all that. How do you juggle that? And what advice would you give to other leaders out there that are trying to do the same?
It is. I wish I had 50 hours in a day.
Yeah,
but I don't.
I agree with you.
But I think when you're passionate about something, you find the time and you make it work. Like right now, I took a couple hours off to do this, but I have to go back to the office and put these 2 hours back at the end of the day to make sure I make up the time. That's the kind of things you do. You make it work.
Right.
I mean, my days end at midnight every day. So, to try to make up for everything. It's 24/7.
That's refreshing to hear, because I feel there's some days where I'm struggling, like, there's only so much time in the day. How am I going to balance this? But it just, sometimes it just works out in the end, because I know, like, I'm driven and I want to get this done. I want to be present for this event, that event, this person, that client. So.
And you know what? And sometimes you might feel stressed. Don't let that get to you. You can only do one thing at a time. Do it well.
Yep.
And move on to the next thing.
Focus on that one thing and then on to the next.
Yeah, and move on to the next thing and prioritize.
Right.
Things that need to be done. Before this other one. You do it and just be calm.
Yeah, I'm assuming you do a lot of like time blocking and organization as well. So.
Sometimes I have 3 things going on at the same time, and you kind of have to prioritize, right?
Right.
Or manage it in a way. I remember there was 3 events going on at the same time, and I scheduled them back to back at the Engineers Club.
Oh,
so I didn't have to go anywhere.
You just go in from room to room.
Exactly. You go from room to room, and you get. But you have to make it work.
Yeah.
You have to build a couple minutes in between buffer time, just in case things run over. Yeah. You have to, grab a drink or something.
And with engineering, is our company, as you probably know, is probably right now the biggest engineering firm in the world, WSP. I think we're over 70,000 employees now, and we have experts in every discipline you can think of, and we're able to pull resources from not only nationally but internationally on anything that we do and do well. So, and I enjoy that. I enjoy that we can be able to contribute to our society through infrastructure.
Yeah. It's amazing to see, and the projects that you guys are doing as well. I had a question going back to leadership about mentorship. So I wanted to know, like, are you a mentee? Are you a mentor? Do you have mentors yourself? Do you mentor people?
Yes.
Yeah.
All of the above.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. As you probably know, you're always learning.
Yes.
Always learning, you never know everything. So you have to rely on others, and you learn new things every day. But at the same time, it's very important to pass along what you know.
Yeah.
And especially to the younger generation, to make sure that they one day take over like for example, on the Healing Hands Foundation, I get a call from my daughter. One day I was driving to work, and she calls me and says, she calls me Papi, that's daddy in Spanish, right? Papi, we need to talk. I was like, oh, what happened? What happened? She says, well, you're getting old. I was like, oh, okay, yeah. She says, well, you're getting old, and we need to continue, doing what we do with the Healing Hands Foundation. So you need to teach me everything that you do.
Oh.
and so I can take over one day. And I replied to her saying, Emma. She goes, what? That's music to my ears, because I'm getting old. One day I'm not going to be able to do it, and I would love to have someone like Emma or anybody to learn about what we do with the Healing Hands Foundation, and that can continue.
Can live on.
Oh, absolutely.
Be one of your
so that's the
legacies.
kind of thing that you want to make sure you pass that along to others. Same thing with the chamber. We want to make sure that we get the younger generation in, so one day they can take over. And 'cause we're not going to be around forever.
So it's about learning and teaching.
Right.
Constantly learning.
Absolutely.
Constantly teaching and sort of passing that knowledge down to the future.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think all of that is kind of helping you continue to grow and improve as a leader as well.
Also, as a leader, you have to learn to be, honest, transparent, humble. And one of the things that to me is extremely important is to build relationships. Because, you meet someone for the first time and the next morning they hit you with, hey, we got to do business together. Or introduce me to your network. I was like, can we have a cup of coffee?
Right, I know.
And once you build that trust and that relationship, you don't even have to ask, because things will happen naturally. People will come to you.
You're getting me excited. I feel energized.
Yeah, absolutely.
Building those relationships.
Even on the a lot of people on the fundraising part too. Like for example, if I come into you and say, "Hey, can you donate $1,000 for the Healing Hands?" You're gonna say, "Oh yeah, sure. Send me some info and I'll look at it." Right? And I'll think about it. I'll think about it. But if I don't ask you for anything, but I tell you what I do, if I tell you everything that we've done, show you pictures, videos, and all the final product and everything that we've done, which is so exciting, people start looking and they get excited about that. Without even asking you for anything, I'm going to continue telling you the story. And then you're going to come back to me and says, man, you guys doing cool stuff. How can I help?
Yeah.
And that's how you want that. You want them to naturally, really, truly, and honestly contribute if they want to. And if they decide not to, it's fine too. But I think you have to tell the story.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, you have to tell the story. So
the reason, the why behind it all, right? And they're going to connect with that on a deeper level. And like you're saying, they're going to be eager to help, right? Or support. So
right.
I agree with that completely.
Yeah.
I want to talk, we have just a couple more minutes, but I do want to talk about if there's been a significant challenge. It could be, you faced as a leader throughout your career at any point in time, kind of how you overcame that situation.
I think it's a little hard to talk about, but, there's always those hurdles going through your career. Or sometimes you don't get what you really wanted because you have an accent or you look a little different and things like that. So it's a reality, right? And you kind of have to deal with it. And the way I dealt with that was to work 5 times as hard and be able to achieve what I needed to achieve. And let's just say that I love to let me find the right word. I let my actions do the talking.
Yeah.
That's
I
the
love
bottom
that.
line.
Again, I think that's a quality of a very strong leader. You know, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do instead of.
Yeah. And I've
Yeah.
even faced difficulty as well. Just, even years ago, like being young, even sometimes a woman, or not having like the titles. You know what I mean? Like I'm not a CEO. I'm just, in business development
Don't
or
never say
account.
just.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying like what people are
Yeah,
thinking.
right.
Yeah. And you just got to show them like who you are and what you do
Absolutely.
and the quality that you bring. So.
Absolutely. And then there's a progression, right? I mean, you got to pay your dues. You know, you got to.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, you got to start from the
Yeah, you gotta
bottom. I
start
mean, that's the
working
way
your way
I
up.
did. I worked my way being, always at the bottom of the org chart and work your way up.
Yeah.
You have to learn. You have to learn everything. So one day you really know what's going on down there.
Absolutely.
When you're moving up. So
Right.
yeah.
So, what advice would you give to someone who's aspiring to go into a career in engineering or even the nonprofit world?
Well, what I like to say is that you have to find your passion. Find your passion. Because if you find that passion, everything will come with much of an effort because you're going to look at that as something that you really want to do instead of, I got to go to work. I got to do this. You're going to be so excited that man, it's another
it doesn't
day.
Feel like work.
It's another day. I'm really excited to do this, and that. So find your passion, I think. And that goes not only on the professional world, but also on the humanitarian and volunteer work. I always share my little slogan that I usually say that like the greatest gift you can give someone is the example of your own life. So, and that's what I always wanted to do, not only for my kids, but also for anyone, that I meet and the younger generation. So you kind of have to be the example, right? So they can see and say, hey, I want to do that one. Like my cousin's kids, they always come to me and says, man, you're doing cool stuff. I wish I can do that. I said, you can.
Yeah.
You just have to do it.
Right.
You can't just say it. You have to do it. When you find that passion,
right,
and you will start doing that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree. Passion. And then for me, like what I kind of live my life by is mindset is everything. So, if I want to do something, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I try to spread that on as much as I can because you do hear people say like, I wish I could do that. Like you totally can.
Yeah.
It's all in the mindset. It's in the passion, drive. So we just have about a minute left. So I want to thank you for joining us today, Marco. Is there any other takeaways, anything you want to leave the audience with today?
No, I just want to thank you for this opportunity. I think it's kind of cool to be able to have a chat and be able to share and information. And I'm always around for help. I love helping. So if anyone is interested in talking to me or advice or connections or anything, I'm always available. I think I you know me, I need to learn to say no, but
yes, you do.
but
but
yeah,
very helpful. So,
but I'm grateful that for having me today.
Yeah. Thank you. You shared a lot of information, and I'm excited to share all the websites and your info as well when we post this out on our LinkedIn and YouTube channel, and other channels as well. So, again, I want to thank you. I'm one of your hosts, Kalie Jakovics, and with me
I'm Holly Basta.
Thank you so much for joining today's episode for The Diligent Leader, and we hope to see you next time.